the ability to wear those, exclusive club type clothing options.
Yeah. Oh,
All right. Hello.
We're live on YouTube.
We are. We just got it sorted out because YouTube was being a baby. Sorry. I hope that didn't go up on YouTube. YouTube, don't be offended. It was just having some trouble with the live streaming, but we are set to go now. I will remind folks who are joining on Zoom as well that if you are joining on Zoom, don't forget to change that little bar from that says all panelists to all panelists and attendees so that you can talk to everyone and not just John and I. And hello. Ooh, someone's got a Marvin the Martian mug. It turns out that there's a 5-year-old who lives in my building, and it turns out that Mickey Mouse now goes to Mars. Did you know that, John?
I didn't know that. Is that like a new thing? I mean, I remember watching Marvin the Martian, but there's not Marvin the Martian and Mickey Mouse. It was Bugs Bunny that goes with Marvin the Martian, right?
Yes, yeah, that was very much a separate thing. Apparently now Mickey is going to Mars or something along those lines, and this 5-year-old is very excited about Mars for that reason. So we're going to look at Mars through a telescope later once it's up at a reasonable bedtime for a 5-year-old.
Yeah, we'll take it. a lot of greetings. Ottawa, Vancouver,
Kingston, New Jersey too.
New Jersey, yeah.
Oh, Francesco's here. We chatted on the Discord. Nice to see everybody. I guess it's about 3:30 now, isn't it? Yeah, so we'll get started. Yep. And hello to the folks who are on YouTube as well. So welcome to our next episode of Explore the Universe Online, which John has so gracefully and beautifully written on his whiteboard behind him. Look at that high quality production value, everybody. So today we're going to talk about a couple of things before we dive into the targets for this week, and I've written them down so I don't forget. Right, the first one is that we now have our Rask branded Explore the Universe workbooks in the web store. I just sent out the link in the Zoom chat, and I'll put it up in the YouTube chat in a second. So that means that they're $10. They're the ones that I was showing you earlier, which are out in my card for emergency observing sessions. John's are still not in yet because John's are printed in color and all sorts of fancy stuff.
They look really good though, so
they do look really good.
Might be worth the wait. Up to you. Yeah, that's this one that's not quite available from the Rask store, but it is available on Amazon with 2-day shipping. So there's that.
Yes, that's also very handy.
but I think it's on sale at the Rask store, so you'll save. It is
on sale. Yeah, it's on sale at the Rask store. It'll be at the same price as the workbook that I just sent the link for now. And so pick your poison. It's sort of, there's slightly different things that are good about each one for depending on who you are. So if you really like writing lots of detail about what you're observing, then the Rask workbook makes more sense. But if you're brand new to observing and you're just trying to find the stuff that's out there and you want to know what it looks like, especially that helps a lot. We were chatting, Francesco and I were chatting in Discord about like, what does M13 actually look like? And John's book has pictures right next to the target. So it really, really helps. And switches to gallery view while I remember, so we're both on the screen. So yeah, take a look. If you're interested, there's the link in the YouTube chat as well. If you're interested, give it an order. Otherwise, you can wait until John's book comes out as well. I also wanted to mention, this was something, so I went out observing quite a bit last week, and it's been a bit cloudy since then. But this was just something that I know a lot of folks are really excited to go out and observe. And I've spoken with a bunch of people who are like, oh my God, it's so great. And my 12-year-old's dragging me out now every night. Which is awesome. I had a moment of like, this feels like homework last week. And I kind of thought to myself, it doesn't have to. If it feels like homework, you don't have to go out. We've given you dates for when the best things are to be seen. Often there's wiggle room in that, especially with the moon. The moon happens once every 29 days, the exact same thing. So you can just go out another time. If you're not feeling it, go out another time. Don't go out if you feel like you have to, it's supposed to be fun. And so I just wanted to address that because I had been feeling it on like myself, and I don't want anyone to feel like they have to go out and see the moon whenever I tell them to,
But the reverse is true though too. If you're having a bad day, one of the best pick-me-ups is to lay out under the stars. Again, don't get bogged down. Don't use the workbook or anything. Just use the stars to become, get one with nature. Mm-hmm. And it's a great, therapeutic, it's better than coffee sometimes.
It's true. Yeah. I find that if I'm out observing, it's the only way I can stay up late is if I'm actually out and looking at the stars. If I'm inside, I'm like out at 10 o'clock, but if I'm
Mhm.
outside, I can stay up late. John's absolutely right. So yeah, if you need that time to yourself, the stars are perfect for that as well. But
Yeah.
if you don't feel guilty because you don't feel like writing down your observations that night. There have been several times when I've gone out and I'm like, I have to draw everything that I see. And that's maybe not a super healthy attitude.
Yeah, my biggest issue in winter is when I'm stargazing, I get so into it that I don't feel the cold, and my hands will like freeze up, and I
Oh,
won't even notice. Yeah,
oh,
not
that's
healthy.
that level of focus that you need.
Yeah.
Oh man. I don't think I'm too much of a baby for that. I get cold almost immediately.
Well, when I wrote the 50 things to see on the moon, I had to trek because we didn't have our house yet, so we were renting this like small place in Halifax, and I had to trek this Dobsonian telescope, so the big 12-inch one that weighs about 100 pounds, and it was in the winters, and I had to trek it about 300 feet across the ice. And it was never like a nice winter day. No, it had just like ice sleeted, and then the skies cleared up. I'm like, well, now I have to work. And so I don't know how I didn't biff it, because I had to take this 100-pound telescope down like 2 flights of stairs and then out through a gate into a parking lot behind our building, you know.
That's insane.
And I did this for like, well, all winter, you know.
Oh my God. And anyone who's seen a 12-inch, you said 12-inch Dobsonian?
Yeah.
They're like cannons.
Yeah, so
They're
it's
like this big across and like 6 feet tall.
yeah,
Oh, that's scary.
only 5 feet tall, plus
Whatever, close
six
enough.
inches for the
Everything
base.
feels like
Yeah,
6 feet when I'm Oh man. Okay, so awesome. Yeah. If you like go with your gut, do what you feel like. If you miss a night, don't worry about it, that sort of thing. Um Before we jump into most of the meat of what we're going to talk about today, I'm just going to mention that tonight, if you do feel like going out, it's a waning gibbous moon, which is one of the moon phases that we need. And so if you're feeling like going out, that's going to rise about 2 hours after sunset. If you don't feel like staying up that late, it's really nice first thing in the morning. If you like, just as the sun's coming up, even if a little bit, you can still see it a little bit later. But it's really nice just as the sun's coming up because it's still quite bright compared to the rest of the sky. So you can see it in the morning if you want to tomorrow morning as well, if you have
yeah.
work
I
or
always
whatever.
find these easier in the morning just because depending on your local horizon, like yeah, it may rise 2 hours after sunset or something, but like it's got to get over the neighbor's house too, right? So that might be another couple hours.
Yeah, and you never know what's in the way.
Yeah,
Yeah, I was about to, if you're on the very west coast, then you have mountains in the way, and that's not ideal. So yeah, it's mornings are nice, and you can observe in the daytime. There's no rules saying you can't. So
yeah,
I just got a notification that my internet is unstable, so I apologize if I cut out. Okay, on to the fun stuff because there's an exciting thing happening next week, and that's the Perseids meteor shower. So how many of you actually, I didn't write this poll, but voice off in the chat. How many of you have gone out to see it before? Because I certainly have. John, I assume you have too,
oh
right?
yeah, hmm
Yeah.
yeah,
It's a it's like it's the most well-known, I would say, argue the most well-known meteor shower of the year. And the reason it's so well-known is because there's a few people saying yes, a few people saying no, a few people saying as a kid. So now is the perfect time to jump back into it. It's one of the best meteor showers because it's summertime, so it doesn't suck outside. It's got a lot of meteors going on, so you can get up to like 110, 120 meteors an hour, which is in good years. So that's really a lot compared to some of the meteor showers are like 10 an hour, 15 an hour. So it's a lot by comparison.
yeah, and it can be a lot more. So here's my Perseid story, and this was
Yes.
right before. This might have inspired my entire life. It's entirely possible. So I was volunteer. I had my first telescope. It was the Dobsonian again, and I lugged it up to the top of the hill. And I got so the hill, I mean Mount Diablo in outside San Francisco. And I had my photographer buddy with me, and he wanted to take some pictures of space. He didn't know what he was doing. I really was so new to astronomy. I didn't know what I was doing. Um, but anyway, so he's like, well, we got on top of this mountain. San Francisco is in the background, but the fog had come in over San Francisco and covered up all the
Oh no.
lights. And so the Milky Way suddenly appeared. right? And this is during the
Oh,
meteor shower, right? So we're like, holy cow, we're getting a Milky Way view 30 minutes from San Francisco. Unreal. And
that's crazy.
anyway, so we're taking 30, 20, 30-second exposures to get the Milky Way, which was just blowing our minds. And I was in the picture in the foreground with this telescope. But in order to take these pictures, because they're 30-second exposures, I had to stay completely still and not move for the entire time. And we were doing dozens. And so I'm there like posing for this photographer. And I'm staring at the sky, inspired.
Sure.
There was a shooting star every 5 seconds.
Wow.
Yeah, it was like shoo, shoo,
Wow.
shoo, shoo.
That's insane.
Unreal. And so I'm just like, this is incredible. This is incredible. This is incredible. And the picture was on the cover of my first book is a picture of me. It's the 50 things to see with a small telescope. If you look that one up, the original book that helped me quit my job and do what I do is me looking at those shooting stars. And
Is it that photo?
it's that photo, yeah. So for the book,
Oh.
I edited out the big telescope and I photoshopped in a small telescope. But that picture is that night that the clouds came in over San Francisco. There's a light haze in the clouds in the background, and that's San Francisco. Um, the light from it going through the clouds. But that's me being inspired by the Perseids on the cover.
So cool. Very cool.
Yeah.
That is
Anyway, so
like
that's my Perseid story.
nice. It is a very inspiring meteor shower because you can see so many, and it does help to be in a dark sky location or have convenient clouds cover up all the light pollution for
And
you.
be at the top of a mountain. Yeah, that helped.
Yeah, that helps too. Yeah, sorry, none of that. I know I'm from Ontario, and I know a lot of you guys aren't from Ontario. So fingers crossed, you have nice tall mountains where you are, and you get some top. But even if you don't, finding a dark spot without any lights shining in your eyes, same as your normal stargazing. So a lot of folks, and John wanted to talk about this. So I'll let you, John, sort of mention this: how you should not look directly at. So, well, actually, hold on, rewind a little bit. Why are meteor showers called what they are? So you'll hear things like Perseids, Geminids, Aquariids, I guess. I always say Aquarids, but I'm pretty sure it's Aquariid. They're named after the constellations that the meteors appear to come from. So if you looked at a big, like a wide field exposure of the night sky, and Perseus is right here, all the meteors will be going like this, away from Perseus.
Yeah.
So sometimes, and John has an issue with this. John, please go ahead and voice your problem with it.
Okay. So I guess my problem is that you say come from, but the proper word is radiate from. And so basically, if you were to take the meteors and trace them back to sort of one point, that would be that constellation. But so some people get so fixated on trying to find that constellation that they sort of forget to look at the rest of the night sky, when really the meteors show up anywhere in the sky. So the best, it's just they can be traced back to that spot, But so the best thing to do when you're watching a shower is really just get comfortable, get a lawn chair that lays back and just look up. Don't worry about finding that spot. Don't worry about the name of the constellation. If we say the Perseids, the best time to see the Perseids is the 11th at midnight, just get out in a lawn chair, find a big piece of sky and look up. Don't worry about where they're coming from or where they're radiating.
I also, so in my youth, watching the meteor shower, because my father in particular was tuned into that event, we always planned our trips up to the cottage around the Perseids meteor shower, even though he's not an astronomer. We always would look. So our lakefront faces south. And it's got a nice big open view of the sky to the south. Even though Perseus is in the north, that was our biggest field of view. So we faced south. And I would advise you guys to do the same. And in my opinion, I think facing south is kind of like, I think it's a little bit better because you can see more of the sky from which meteors would radiate, like through which meteors would go. So in my opinion, I like not directly south, but like feet pointing south, lying back in a lawn chair looking up would be my ideal setup, in my opinion. Other people have other opinions, but just go and look. It'll be fine.
Yeah, the important thing is just to get out there and talk about optimal meteor shower watching conditions. I'm an evening person. I don't like to stay up, too much past midnight. But optimally it may be 2 in the morning. But for me, I like to just get out there, 2 hours after sunset and make sure that the moon is not up. So like check, ask Siri on your phone when the moonrise is and make sure you do that before then.
Yes, and so the moon is rising relatively late because it's the last quarter moon. So it won't be rising until early morning. So normally, and I'm going to show you guys a little demo, which Chris Vaughn from Insider's Guide showed me already, and we've already showed you. If you've seen that, we've already shown you. This is the debris from the comet Swift-Tuttle, which left behind the debris that causes the meteor shower. And you can see that it passes through right by Earth's orbit in exactly one spot. So that's why the Perseids always happen at the same time of the year. And when everyone says the best time to see them is first, like really early in the morning, it's because at that point, as the Earth is passing through, the sun would be rising in the east, and the Earth, our face of the Earth, the direction that we are facing, is smashing right into the cloud. So that's why they always say morning is best, but you can see them all night long. And the key in this case is to see them when the moon is not up. And in this case, the moon is up in the morning and it's not up in the evening. So in this case, evening is best. Generally speaking, morning is best, but not this time around. This is way better than last year though, because last year there was a full moon, I'm pretty sure. Like we couldn't see anything. So this is a good step in the right direction. Another thing that I wanted to mention, also because I noticed it up in my tabs here, is you can, if you see fireballs are sort of like, well, they look like really bright meteors. They're meteors that flash after they go through the atmosphere. So if you see one of those, you can actually report it to the American Meteor Society, I believe is what they're called. And you can go through the process. I have never actually seen one, so I've never reported one. But you can do things like, do you have a photo and do you have a video? Odds are probably no, but if you do, you can upload those, give the actual address, and continue on. Yes, okay, I'm not gonna. Anyway, so you can continue through and log what you saw. And so for that reason, I'm gonna send that link out in the chat, but for that reason, it might be worthwhile taking whatever logbook you use or a notebook or something like that out there, so that if you do see one, you can write down the date, time, and odds are probably the direction that you saw it going. So if you saw it going from like northeast to southwest, or if you notice that it's going through a specific constellation that we've already seen, you can write that down, and then you can report it back to the American Meteor Society.
Yeah, and this really helps scientists because, for a number of reasons. One, if they get multiple reports, they can triangulate the position and calculate the orbit of whatever, of wherever that rock was before it hit Earth's atmosphere. If it's really bright, maybe there's fragments of it that hit the ground. So if you have multiple reports coming in from all over the place, they can use that information to help find that rock. And so that's helpful as well. Yeah. And so I've seen many. I love it's always the surprise, and especially with I've been in crowds of like hundreds of people and had them go by, and just to see the like holy crap from like 100 people, that's quite something.
Katrina just mentioned that on YouTube as well, that Toronto Center would sit with like a big circle of chairs and everyone would watch the sky. And she also pointed out one of the things you can do, and what meteor watchers, meteor hunters, I suppose, do, is they bring like a clicker and they'll click how many meteors they see over a certain period of time. So you can calculate your own meteors per hour rate to see when it peaked in your area.
Yeah, and there's an app for that too, where you can click.
Is there really?
Yeah, there's an app for that. But on the downside, I don't like having the phone out when I stargaze, because even looking at the phone, you can have the red screen and the black screen, but it still degrades your night vision just a little bit. And you sort of, sometimes if you're watching meteor showers, you need all you can get in terms of sensitivity to the dark sky.
And on that note, actually, we're going to try something new on the Perseids meteor shower this year. We've never done this before, so you'll have to bear with us if it goes wrong. On the peak is August 11th, August 12th, around there. So on the evening of August 11th, we're going to try using the voice channel on Discord to hang out and talk about meteors and see listen to what everyone's seeing in every place that they're seeing it. So The screen is relatively dark. You can download Discord for your phone. I'm getting messages from folks who are on there right now. So that's what Discord looks like. And you can go, and I'll go in the voice chat right now. You can join the voice chat, and then there we go. That's it. It's a dark screen. It's all black and gray. You can turn the brightness down. It's not too bad. And our plan is to hang out on here and chat in general about meteors, answer questions, help you find stuff if you're looking for things, and ideally join in that, oh, I just saw one kind of excitement, since we can't really do that right now with the social distancing in place. So we're going to try that. So if you haven't joined the Discord yet, please do. And if you're going out, if you have clear weather and you're going out to observe, jump in and chat with us and see how, and tell us what you're seeing. Tell us how many meteors you've seen. Tell us if you've seen a fireball, all that sort of stuff. We're hoping it's going to be a good time.
All right. Awesome. Well, thanks for setting that up. That'll be a lot of fun.
It should be a good time. Yes, we have a couple people asking for me to put the Discord link in. Hold on one second. I didn't think ahead to grab that. So I will grab that and I will throw it in the various places that it needs to be. And then we will get to this week's targets, which are all lined up so that you can see them all if you're out observing the meteor shower. The meteor shower is helpful because it's already got pretty dark skies. There's the Discord. Okay, and then I'll throw it into the chat here. Discord server there. All right. And then just answering quick questions while I haven't got Stellarium open yet. Any specific direction does it require dark sky from Aditya? You don't have to have a dark sky. That's one of the nice things about this particular meteor shower is that it has a lot of fireballs and really big bright meteors, but the darker the sky, the more meteors you'll see. So that helps a lot. Yeah. And with regards to direction, we touched on this already in terms of just making sure it doesn't really matter which direction, but the meteors will appear to be, you said radiating, John, is that the right word?
Yep.
Radiating from Perseids, which is in the northeast, I believe, at this time of year.
I'm getting inundated with Discord notifications all of a sudden.
Oh yeah.
I'm like, hush.
Calm down, Discord. Yeah, so we have a Discord. We have regular chats for those of you who don't know. We have regular chats for this program and just for the RASC in general. And then we have a voice chat, which is where we're going to be on August 11th. I'm currently trying to grab some folks from across the country who can join in and chat as we go through the time zones. But I feel a bit badly for the folks who are out in BC because if I'm staying up until it's dark enough for you to see that, it's going to be like 1 a.m. for me. Maybe 2, and I'm going to start losing my mind.
Why does Canada have to be so big?
It's such a big country. It's just like, can we just turn it on its side and then it'd be like chilly?
We just need everyone to move to Nova Scotia. We can go stargaze and Keji.
You guys are just lonely out there.
It's true. It's very sparse. We're lonely. We have no COVID.
But that's good.
Cool. Yeah.
Go ahead and brag about it.
No, actually, we have 4 cases, but they're all in quarantine.
Wow,
Anyway.
That's tough being you guys. At least you're doing pretty well out there.
We're doing all right.
And you may have a recruit from Katrina who lives in Toronto. She may be joining you at Nova Scotia.
Well, you can work from anywhere these days, right?
It's true. So this is a slight divergence, but did you guys see that Barbados is offering visas to go and work in Barbados for a year for $2,000 during quarantine? Yeah, heads up if anyone wants to move to Barbados. You get to see some nice center of the Milky Way stuff from there. It's so much further south.
Oh yeah,
okay.
That'd be great.
That'd be right. Yeah, that'd be rad. It would be hard to, that's not what I want. Hard to, when you have the option to go to Barbados, it's hard to want to stay here.
Yeah, okay. It'd be great. I would take my 2.5 kids, my dog, and 2 cats, and
your white picket fence and everything.
white picket fence.
Okay, so here's tonight. Just wanted to mention the waning gibbous moon. Rising. This is set for Toronto, but it's around 11 o'clock or so that you'll start to be able to see it. So not as bad as observing in June, but still pretty late. And so you can, if you want, I'm going to center this. You can just wait until morning when it will be pretty high in the sky still at 7 a.m. So that's your option for that. Now, on to what we're mostly going to be observing on, which is the 11th. I'm going to scoot that ahead until the evening. Okay. I always turn my meteor showers off, but I guess I'll have to turn my meteor showers on for tonight. So first of all, I'll take us a little bit later. There we go. So this is, now let's do closer to 11 o'clock. Yeah. Seems like a good, reasonable average. And you can turn meteor showers on in this. I'm not sure.
Well, your light pollution's turned way up. It must know you're in Toronto.
It does. I made it set up that way. I'll turn it down there.
You've got two
Feel
stars.
a little bit more realistic.
There we go.
And I actually don't see my meteor shower button. Am I missing it, or is it?
We can't see that far down on your screen. So.
Okay, let's see.
Or can you, are you sure that menus, you just hover your mouse at the bottom of the screen, it might just be.
Yeah, it's not there. It's because I hate having the little labels up. So I might have programmed it to leave me alone, in which case, John, if you have Stellarium running, I may get you to show that element of it because I'm.
Oh, the meteor shower? Okay.
Yeah. For now, I'm going to talk about finding our first target, which is not the meteor shower. The meteor shower is just a bigger thing, which is Capricornus. It's one of the constellations. And you probably know it from those of you who have zodiac signs or are interested in your zodiac signs as Capricorn. And we can find it. I'll bring up the pictures. So I've never personally observed Capricornus. And the reason for that is that there aren't that many bright stars and there's not much going on in that constellation. The reason I'm showing you guys how to find it now is because there are 2 double stars in it that we need to find. So we have the helpful aid of Jupiter and Saturn right now, because this weird shaped thing here is Capricornus. I don't actually know. There we go. That's Capricornus. Huh.
I don't know my Greek mythology very well, but that looks like a ram fish.
Yep, I think that's the ram fish. Yeah. Greeks are strange, man.
Yeah. My wife is an expert in that stuff, but I'm like, what?
Because I know that there's also a whale, like Cetus the whale, but it's more of a sea monster that has some other, it's also like a half thing. Mm-hmm. Anyway, so it's the half ram fish thing. In my opinion, it looks like a right angle triangle, which is not very creative, I'll admit.
Yeah, and this, if you're following along in my books, I typically leave this constellation out because it doesn't get used as a reference point for deep sky objects, and that's sort of the goal in my books is, hey, what can you see with your telescope? But there's not a whole lot to see with a telescope in this constellation, so I pretty much don't talk about it. Like, obviously it's in the star maps, but it's not in the text.
John also has a somewhat personal vendetta against double stars.
No, I have my favorite double stars, Albireo, Winter Albireo,
yeah,
double, couple others, but like then I'm like, I mean, almost, when you think about it, almost every star or every other star in the galaxy is a double star.
It's just what you're saying is they're not special and you shouldn't care about them.
Yes. Exactly.
Oh, okay, so
we should count single stars. Hey, did you see that single star, like our sun? It's great.
Wow, that's a special occurrence. Yeah.
It's a rare occurrence. Man.
It's a rare occurrence. Yeah. So some folks do like double stars. I'm not against them. I think they're kind of cool, and I think it's sort of like, I don't know, it's sort of like a scavenger hunt looking for them, because you're like, ooh, but it's basically just 2 stars close to each other. We've already talked about double stars. So for the purpose of looking for these targets, again, just a reminder that you don't have to find all the targets. You only have to find half from each category. So if you don't feel like finding these 2 particular double stars or even this constellation, there are other options out there. Not to say that Capricornus is bad, just that I have trouble finding it. So the easiest thing to find first is the teapot, because we've already found that before. That's in Sagittarius, and there's a lot going on in Sagittarius, so it's a useful asterism to find. This is going to be, I don't have great tips on finding this. If anyone has a specific tip about finding Capricornus, throw it out in the chat. To me, it looks like a triangle, a right angle triangle to the left or to the west, east of Saturn and Jupiter.
I mean, the thing right now where most people, like if you're in a city or a town, you're not really going to see a lot of those stars. You're going to see the top three.
Yeah, that one.
So for right now, yeah. So I think the two doubles are those two that you've
These
got your
two,
mouse
yeah.
over. So to find those doubles right now, I think you're just going to be looking at Jupiter and Saturn,
Mhm.
which are very bright. You know, you could see those from downtown New York City, and just hopping over,
Yeah, it's like
to the
a
next
fist
brightest
width
star.
over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or it's equidistant as Saturn, as far as Saturn is from Jupiter.
Yeah, that's true. Good point.
So, so you're just going to star hop with your eyes over to those.
Yeah, I think
And I
that's
think those are binocular doubles too, right?
they are. Yeah, they
I think
should be. So
they're
these
pretty splittable.
the two double stars that we're talking about are called, I believe, alpha and beta, if we're going specifically. Yeah, that one's alpha cap, which means just the first brightest star or whatever in alpha in Capricornus, and this one's beta cap underneath it, and you can see the names up here. So it's literally just these two stars right next to each other. I would guess that the easier one to find would be the lower one first, beta, and then go up to alpha from there. Alpha is easier to see. They're a little bit further apart. And then beta is a little bit tighter. But both you should be able to see in binoculars. And even I think both stars in the same field of view in binoculars as well.
Oh, yeah.
Let's grab that. That I know how to do thanks to 6. Chris again. So that's about a binocular view. So you should be able to essentially just, there's Saturn, and then you can even scoot almost straight over, find that one, and then find these next two in the field of view, find those two double stars, and give them a little draw to show that you know where they are.
Yep. And don't forget to check. I mean, if you've got a telescope, you definitely got to still check out Saturn and Jupiter there while you're in the neighborhood.
If you're there, you might as
well. Yeah, and I tried seeing Saturn's rings with my binoculars, and I wasn't able to do it. But Jupiter's moons, no problem in most binoculars. So
yeah, I found so. I don't know if I conned myself into believing that I could see Saturn's rings in my binoculars, but it looked ever so slightly oblong. That was about all I could see. But yeah, you can definitely see.
Yeah. So the only way, so I have astronomical binoculars that actually lent to Tony Selleck about a year ago. But those, if I put those, and they're 70, 80 millimeter ones, I forgot. But anyway, so those on a tripod is what it took to see Saturn. Okay. But I couldn't do it because there's too much magnification. I had to put those on a tripod, and then it was no problem.
That's fair. Okay. So yeah, give those a look as well. All the targets that we're talking about this week, the rest of them anyway, because we've gone through 3 and we still have, and the lunar phase. And so we still have 4 more, which are deep sky objects. They're all going to be in this neighborhood, right around where Saturn, Jupiter, and in Capricornus and Sagittarius are. So if you're there, might as well stop by the planets. Mm-hmm. I also just saw that there's something in the Q&A and I can't reach it. So hold on one second. If I can check. Let's see. So, where is the list of targets? Okay. So first of all, there's a question saying, we talked a lot about double stars with Chris last week or on another week as well. Is there a difference between double and binary stars, or are they sort of just interchangeable terms?
Well, so binary stars or 2 stars together by gravity, there's most of the double stars you can't see without scientific instruments because they're going to be spectroscopic binaries. So there's a ton of stars out there that both stars are bound by gravity, and they're binary stars, but they're not. You can't see them with your telescope. You need you need spectroscopy or a really huge telescope. And there's also double stars that aren't binary stars. So there might just be a chance coincidence of stars, and they're not bound by gravity. So like even Albireo, one of the most famous double stars, there's a chance that those stars are not bound by gravity, that it's just a chance coincidence of stars. But we still call it a double star, but it might not be a binary system. And so that's the difference.
Okay, that's fair. Thank you, John, for that, because I would have given the wrong answer. And I've also asked for I've been asked for the link to the targets this week. So I've just posted that in YouTube and in the chat. It's always going to be up on ras.ca/ETU online, like a day or 2 before our session, with how to find it all. And if you want to jump ahead I've also added in all the targets throughout the entire session and when you can see them on the Google Calendar, which is also linked on rask.ca/ETU online. So there's a couple different options here.
Yeah, because I mean, if you really wanted to pull an all-nighter with your notepad and complete the program in one night,
technically,
yeah. I mean, the lunar phases, you gotta space those out of it.
Yeah, that you have to space out.
That'll
But
slow down.
You can see an unbelievable amount if you're willing to stay up from, let's say like 11 o'clock until 4 in the morning, because you see so much of the sky passing by.
I mean, there's a few constellations that are blocked by the sun at this time of the year, but
you don't have to see all
you only have to see half. So
yeah.
Yeah.
So for those of you who are ambitious out there, find a good night and just observe everything in one go. Okay, so we're gonna hop on to our deep sky object targets, which this week are M16, M17, M24, and M4. I haven't observed most of these, and I've gotten very confused down here in the center of our galaxy. I'm going to turn off even more of the light pollution.
So this is tough, especially because there's so much interesting stuff to see. It's hard to tell one interesting thing from another. Especially with binoculars. Now with a telescope, you can sort of line it up with the pictures. Like if you've got my book or something, you can sort of cross-reference and figure out what's what. But with binoculars, it might be like blah, blah, blah.
So see, I found binoculars easier because I am more comfortable star hopping with them. And so I found I'm pretty sure I found M8 last week, 2 weeks ago, whenever it was. Mm-hmm. But I wasn't 100% sure. It looked more like M8 in binoculars. And then I wasn't sure if my telescope was pointed at the same thing. And so I had a harder time with that.
That can be hard because M8's so huge that your telescope might be just looking at the core of it. So like even this telescope right here, this has a lot of magnification. It would be no good for M8. But M8, you don't even need a telescope at all to see. You can see
That's the thing.
With the naked eye, but this telescope would be useless.
Yeah, and I wish I brought my notebook in because I felt the same way. I think it was M25, which we may have had last week or we might have coming up, the Sagittarius star cloud.
Yeah, I think that's this week. That's another one. I mean, it's in a telescope, you're like, what? But if you've got pitch black skies and and binoculars, you'd be like, oh yeah, that's an insanely dense patch of sky that's full of stars.
I saw it without binoculars, and so I just drew it without binoculars, like naked eye, because it's this whole thing here. So this is the binocular field. Yeah, you can see the big blob there. If you have a telescope, you're looking at like a tiny section of it.
Yeah, so I've tried a bunch of times because a lot of my telescopes are pretty big, and so I don't appreciate this stuff like binocular users, like seasoned binocular users get really good at this stuff. But so because I usually focus on the Trifid or nebula down there and the Omega.
You said it the way I do. I got in a big fight with someone about how you pronounce it. Voice your opinions in the chat. Some people say Trifid. I say Trifid after like the day of the Trifids. Anywho, back on target here because we have limited time. Heyo. So to find, this is the first one I'm going to mention because this one's so big, is the Sagittarius star cluster, which is this big fluffy bunch of stars, the small cluster that's above the teapot. Best way to find this is to just use the teapot's lid as an arrow and it points directly at it. It's 6 degrees, 7 degrees. So that's about like this much of your hand above the teapot, I would say, John, maybe a little bit less, maybe this much. So arm fully outstretched, pointing straight up. I found that kind of tricky because if you're trying with the telescope, it was not as obvious.
Yeah, I usually use equidistances. So like I would say it's equidistant from the bottom of the teapot up.
Okay, yeah, okay, fair.
And that way you don't need to stick your hand up there.
All right, fine.
And look like
I like sticking my hand up there, John.
I feel like a goof sometimes because I'll be stargazing by my kid's school. I'll be like this. And
All right, here we go. Yeah.
people walk
That's
by, like, what is he doing? Well, usually, so I don't use it for stargazing in particular. I'm usually doing it to point the camera at something I can't see naked eye.
okay.
And so, yeah, like for the comet, I'm like, okay, the comet is 30 degrees. So that's going to be fist, fist, fist.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, okay, that's this. And so
So
people will see me doing this.
So here's a little life hack. I used to, for those of you in the audience who don't know, which is I assume most of you, before I worked at the RASC, I worked at the Ontario Science Centre. And when you work at the Ontario Science Centre doing shows, the key to doing good shows is to just completely lose all sense of shame. And if you mess up, who cares? So John, you clearly need to do that.
Exactly. Yeah. Sometimes I have too much shame, I guess. And that's my,
You just gotta
I need to get over that.
dance like nobody's watching, John. Okay.
Yeah, they tell me not to dance though. Every time I dance, my wife is like, stop.
Ooh, no.
She's like, there's bad, and then there's what you're doing.
And then there's John. Aw. Okay,
I'm usually just doing the wave.
Yeah, that's fair. Do the worm, it'll be fine.
The worm.
Okay, so let's go for that was M24. Let's go for M16. This one's a really popular one because it's just above M24. All this stuff is kind of in a line today. M16 you may have heard about before. It's one of my favorite ones, and it's also a famous Hubble picture.
Yeah, so I have a screen share of this when you get a moment. So
okay, I'm going to finish talking about it, and then we'll see your screen. Okay.
Yeah.
So this one is a nebula, and you'll be able to see the stars in it better than you'll be able to see the nebulosity of it. But the reason this is famous is because it contains something called the pillars of creation, which I believe are these things right there.
Yep.
Those things. You can't see them with your standard like binoculars or telescope. They're very, very small. But the Hubble took a beautiful composite photo of them as one of its early photos. And so it's very, very famous.
Yeah. And now what's been amazing, there's a new filters that people are using for their backyard telescopes for astrophotography. And they're making what's called Fubble pictures. So Fubble. So fake Hubble. And what they're able to do, so they photograph this nebula, but what the filter does, it allows them very easily, because you can do it with a lot of Photoshop and stuff, adjusting the levels, but it's almost automatic that you get a picture. It's called the L-enhance filter. It's about like $400 here in Canada. Yeah, so you put that between your camera and the telescope, and you're able to take and then process out pictures that you can almost replicate almost exactly Hubble's pillars of creation images with this filter in with your backyard astrophotography setup.
That's insane. Technology has come so far.
Yeah, I mean you're still talking about $5,000 worth of gear, but the fact that you can get these pictures that almost compare is pretty impressive.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, I would just like saying Fubble, maybe. I don't know.
Fubble is a fun word.
It's kind of a fun word.
Fun. Yeah. Did you want to show the picture? So sorry, quickly to find this. This is not, we can't use equidistance in this one, unfortunately. It's this little fuzzy spot up here, and it's directly not following the point of the top of the teapot lid, but following generally the direction of the Milky Way. It is up just about a binocular field of view above the star cluster here that you were looking at before. So this is a good one to see right after, because it's close by.
So I'm weird with this one. Usually I star hop down from the Northern Cross. So
really?
Yeah. So if you go up past Scutum. Yeah.
Scutum?
Or sorry, not the Northern Cross, Aquila. Yeah.
Okay, I was gonna say, I'm like, dude, that's far away.
Yeah. So I find the Summer Triangle, I find Aquila, and then I sort of scoot down, and then I find those two bright stars in Scutum. Anyway.
Scutum.
Again with the pronunciations, and then down a little bit more, and then find.
Okay. Yeah, if you go for Altair and then the middle star of Aquila, and then that's in line with those two stars, and it goes down from there, that'd be fair.
Yep. And that's also fair. Like if you have different times of night and you can't necessarily see, because Sagittarius and Scorpius and some of those other reference constellations can get pretty low and they get behind stuff. So finding targets using the constellations that are higher in the sky as a reference and then moving down.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah. I found that helpful. especially for those of us, and we've had a couple comments about this. Not everyone lives in the lower latitudes of Canada. There are plenty of people who live in northern latitudes, and in northern latitudes, you can't see a lot of this stuff.
Yeah.
So that top-down approach is actually, yeah, I'm sure very helpful for some folks. Yeah. We're kind of like quickly running out of time. Let's find M17, which is also nearby. All this stuff is like super close together this time. Which is why we kind of lumped it all in one, except for M4. That one's on its own. We'll get there.
Wait, so this one has another name, the Lobster Nebula?
The Lobster, oh, look at that. So normally people call this the Swan Nebula,
Yeah.
but the Lobster Nebula sounds like it fits where you live, John.
I just found out that they caught like a 17-pound lobster or something here a while back.
That's a big lobster.
Yeah.
It sure is.
Might have been more. It might have been like 40. Anyway, that's my story for that. I just took the kids to the Maritime History Museum, so I'm all trivia'd up.
You've learned a lot. So I would recommend doing a binocular tour up from this the star cluster, this is M24, so M24, the small Sagittarius cluster, up to M17 and then over to M16. They're all in the same area. There's so much to get lost with in there anyway. So it might be a little bit tricky, but they're all in the same neighborhood, so it's worth just kind of trying to like find your way through. I have such a hard time with that. And so I don't have a ton of good advice for how to pick one target out from the others.
Yeah, I think if you're using binoculars and you're in dark skies, finding the star cloud and using that as a reference to sort of star out would be the way to go. Because you're going to see in the same field of view several targets.
Mm-hmm. You could see you could see all three in one field of view.
Yeah, and I'm not sure which ocular that circle is, but like some of them might be even bigger.
Yeah, this one's a 6-degree field, so it's about like a standard binocular type-ish.
Yeah. Or you can use, I think it's Judy Black at Halifax Center has 2X binoculars. That was the picture I sent you where they're like this?
The bubble eyes.
So you can look in and see your own eyes. Don't you show that.
I don't know if I can find it, but if I can, I will post it afterwards.
Well, so I'll do my M16 picture. So.
Oh yes, okay. I'll stop sharing so that you can do that. And then we'll get to the last target. The last target this time is M4. Okay, so and a note from Carl saying that in Maple Ridge, BC, all of the targets that we're looking at are at least 10 degrees lower there. So it's the other tricky thing with those targets are, especially from northern latitudes, is that you're looking through much more atmosphere, which makes it harder to see as well. Mm-hmm. Okay, back to your picture, John.
Yeah, so I was in Prince Edward Island a couple weeks ago, where I did the show. Anyway, so I guess it was the night that we did the show, I took this telescope out and I did an experiment and I put on, so this is the telescope that, this is the C90 Celestron. And my in-laws bought this for me for Christmas on sale for $129. And I'm like, well, what if we just put like $2,000 worth of cameras on it and see, and see what we would get. And so I used an iPhone app that talked to a computer that talked to the guide camera and the designated astronomy camera that I'd screwed into the back. And this was my first shot. And this isn't a processed image. This is just what came off the iPhone.
No way.
Yeah. So I haven't taken this back and applied, astrophotographer magic to it. That's just the straight image. And so you can see the stars are kind of like mushy and all that stuff. And it's pretty noisy. But the fact that it worked, it blew my mind.
That's crazy.
And so that's using a mount that uses the computer and the phone to like track the stars, and then the camera plate solves, which means the camera and the little computer, it actually knows what all the stars are. So it knows that you're pointed at the right spot. Like it was just way overkill on this $100 telescope.
For context, at the RASC, we've been trying for a while now to get this robotic telescope program up and running. And the robotic telescope has all of these features, but it costs it's like a 16-inch giant $40,000 telescope, something like that. So then there's John's $130 one.
Yeah. So you couldn't do this just by putting your iPhone on it and without a tracking mount or something. But hypothetically, You could do this with an iPhone using, if you had that telescope on an equatorial mount that was tracking really well, and you used nightcap and you took like an hour worth of exposures, you could probably pull that off.
Okay.
Yeah, but there'd be a lot of frustration. But if
Yeah,
you're down with that,
mhm.
it's way outside the context of this program.
Yeah,
But
just look at it for now.
just look at it.
But don't expect to see like the same stuff that's in John's picture. It's going to be a fuzzy blob, like most of the other fuzzy blobs.
Yeah, because that's 15 minutes of exposure.
Yeah, and we can't open our eyes and accept photons for that chunk of time.
You can't. No.
Nope.
But I just thought it was funky that this
That is very cool. I'm gonna steal the screen sharing back from you because we're swiftly running out of time. While I bring the other targets back up, there was a quick question from Aditya, which was, are all the targets achievable by 10 by 50 binoculars from Bortle 7 or 8? So a reminder for those of you who don't know about the Bortle scale. The Bortle scale is how much light pollution you see. So in a city in Toronto, it'd be Bortle 9. And in like the mountains, and it's very quiet. Can you still hear me? Am I still broadcasting?
Yeah, I'm just trying to think about the question. So could you see this in Bortle 8 with binoculars? My gut says no.
Yeah, I think for some of the deep sky objects, you'll have to go out specifically to a darker location. You can see quite a bit from not that far away. So I've been in Toronto, which is definitely Bortle 9, and gone out 45 minutes northeast and seen the Milky Way. So, my cat and my father's cat are having a fight right now. Yeah, so you can see quite a bit from going a little ways, but for a lot of these, you will have to go to like slightly darker skies. I'm gonna just quickly show M4, which is one of the first things that I ever went to look for, and I got lost. I did eventually find it, but I got lost.
This is one of my go-tos. I like M4 because I find like if you can find Antares.
There we go. Yeah. So this one,
but it's a lot smaller than M13. At least I found and maybe dimmer.
Yeah.
I don't have the data to back that up.
I thought it was about the same brightness. It felt like the same brightness as M13.
But it's also because it's lower in the sky, right?
But it is, it's lower in the sky. It seems smaller.
More soup.
Yeah. So I got confused. What's that, John?
What's the magnitude of it for? Just curious.
Sorry, I clicked away from it because I was being a chump.
Like Dave says, Dave just commented there that the biggest and brightest globular cluster there is M22.
In the whole program or like in this area?
In that area, yeah.
Okay.
But I knew about M4 a lot. I mean, it was a popular go-to target for me before M22, but M22 is easier in binoculars too. Yeah.
So this one's not too bad. That one's easier in binoculars. The reason I had trouble finding this was because I did not pay attention to which direction was east or west. And I was convinced that I should be looking up here and I was seeing nothing. In fact, I'm pretty sure, I was seeing nothing at all. And I was like, I am lost and I can't figure it out. So it's, basically down. It's right next to Antares. You can't miss Antares. It's real bright and it's also red.
Yeah. M4 though, I feel like would be a lot tougher in binoculars if you don't have the dark skies to back it up.
Yeah.
Darker.
And it's also, I've left this one a little bit later because I found it so hard, and I wanted to introduce it to you guys at a point where you'd had some experience with looking at deep sky objects already, because it's kind of tricky. Except by leaving it later, it's closer to the horizon now. So sorry, everybody.
You might have better luck in the city with binoculars with M22.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. And so you'll be able to find M22 in my book, and any guide should have that as well.
And M22 you can see even zoomed out from here. It's that little globular cluster there, which I'm pretty sure we've talked about already, right?
Did we talk about M22 already? Anyway.
I've lost track. But we will at some point, I'm sure. If we haven't talked about it already. M4 is trickier, but it's worth a shot. You can see it's a group of stars. Make sure whenever you're looking for clusters, it's always groups of stars. And make sure that's what you're kind of looking to pick out.
Well, M4 is a globular cluster, so If you're using a big telescope, like, yeah, I mean, there could be 500,000 stars there. It's a pretty,
Yeah.
it's a good show with a telescope.
Yeah.
With a big telescope. With a smaller telescope, it's even an 8-inch Dobsonian. It's still a bit of a smudge for me, at least. So most of the times I've
Okay.
observed M4, it's been from the city. So
Okay.
yeah. Anyway, moving on. 5 more minutes.
That's it. That's all our targets
Oh, that's
for this
it.
week.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'm going to stop sharing, which is good because we only have 5 minutes left. But I'm going to stop sharing. And if anybody has questions, now would be the time to ask them because we have a little bit of time. I'm going to once again, no, I'm not because I lost the link. I'm going to once again link the list of targets for this week in the answer to Dave's question in the chat. And I'm just looking through the questions on, or all the chat on YouTube as well. And there's one quickly from, oh boy, Guzzy Alpha, which was asking, I've always called double stars that have two types, visual doubles and true doubles or binary. Are they incorrect in saying it that way? No, that sounds reasonable, huh?
I was reading the comments. I didn't get the question.
Oh, okay. It was a question about the difference between, so they call double stars with two varieties, visual doubles, like where you see the two, and
yeah.
true double binary. So that's reasonable, eh?
Oh yeah. Yep. Okay. Yeah, adding visual just, I mean, it makes it self-explanatory.
Yeah, makes it clearer.
Yeah, so someone asked, where can I get your workbook? Where can you order it? Well, if you want to pay full price, it's on. And that's my workbook. The Rask workbook is on rask.ca.
Yeah, can you go, yeah, so here's the Rask workbook. And then John, can you grab your link on Amazon, or do you want me to grab it?
Yeah, if you want to grab it, I can just talk about it for a second. And then we did update. I know Dave Chapman's listening. So we did, this is the old one, but now they all have a spot to put your dates at the bottom so that you can record the time and date for the certificate on there. We added 2 double stars just to make sure that, I think there's a full 14 or 15 in the workbook now. So makes it, even more, I guess, effective for getting that certificate.
Yeah, it gives you more options for what to see. So if you like certain double stars and you don't like others, then it gives you some more of the options of what you have available to you. If you want the full gamut, so some people want to see like literally everything in the Explore the Universe certificate. And if you want to do something like that, then the Rask workbook would make more sense because it has every single target in there. There's the link to John's book, and I'll post that in the YouTube chat as well.
Yeah, and even though all my books
say have it on.
Yeah, even though my books are 50 things too, there's there's about 200 targets in the workbook in total. So
how many? Sorry.
I think there's around 200 targets in total.
Dang, that's pretty good.
Yeah, because this combines the material from the Moon book and 50 Things to See with a Telescope and a bunch of other stuff like constellations and stuff. It all compounds.
Yeah, that was fair. Okay, cool. And one last question, as we are slowly running out of time. This one we've addressed before, but who knows, we might have some more people who have not heard this yet. For an amateur, what is the best pair of astronomy binoculars? So John and I are both hesitant to say the best anything, generally speaking, because it's whatever the best one is the one that you're going to use. By the way, there's my cat. He doesn't have a space name. So the best one is the one that you'll use. So I have a set of 8x56 Celestron ones, which I use. So they're good for me. I think they're a little bit out of date, but I like using them. I wouldn't use anything with a bigger magnification. So mine are 8 times magnified. I wouldn't use anything with bigger than that because I have shaky hands and I won't be able to see anything because I'll be shaking them the whole time. So
yeah, I mean, my favorites are 7s.
Yeah.
Yes, I like 7s, and then eye cups, like nice soft eye cups. And that sometimes they can turn, cozy. Not the diopter, but the cups themselves can turn, and that adjusts for your glasses.
Neat. Okay. Yeah. And yes, we have a couple people suggesting those as well. Francesco said that you suggested them and that they really like them. Noelle has also said that they got 7x50, and they're great for $50. So give those a shot. Aditya recommends the 10x50s, but I think Aditya's hands are maybe a little bit more steady than mine. And they say they're best for non-shaky hands. And then there's Dave jumping in with the real astronomer answer, which is get the stabilized ones.
Yeah, so they start for around $600, and the way they work is you look and then you press a button and it sort of locks the targets in place. So even if you're doing this, it's really
they're like
cool. Really
but
cool.
they're like 500, several $1,000s in some cases.
Well, so there's the Canon one starts at 600, but then you want the good one, so that's around like $1,500. Yeah, but I mean, for $1,500, you get like the telescope you can get for that would just, it'd be pretty nice.
Yeah, just go for the telescope.
You'd be getting a C8 on an AVX mount with the GPS and the
Oh, look at all those 3-letter acronyms that you're using that I understand none of. Fancy.
Outside the scope. I can't believe I still have coffee left.
Yeah, good for you. And the last sip of John's coffee marks the hour mark on our talk, which means it's time for us to go. Hopefully we've all had fun today. I did. And I hope you guys have a good time observing. Do join. So there was a quick answer. This will be quick as well. The Discord chat, the verbal chat, like the voice chat that we're going to run, is going to be on the 11th of August. So in the evening. I haven't set a time yet. I'll post it on our website. It'll be after sunset by like 30 minutes. And we're hopefully going to have it rolling across the country and different people joining in when they hit sunset in their own, or half hour after sunset in their own areas. And yeah, join in. Let us know if you see meteors. Let us know if you see fireballs, all that sort of stuff. And we'll be there to answer your questions. And we'll give it a test run in terms of if you can't find objects while observing. We'll try to guide you with our voices as well, and see if we can help out in that way as well. We'll see you all then.
All right.
And then we'll see you all in 2 weeks. Thanks, John, for being here. Thanks, John, for all of your knowledge and experience.
All right.
We'll talk to you guys hopefully in however many days away that is. 5 days?
Oh, yeah, for Discord. 5 days for Discord, 2 weeks until the next session.
Yes, so we'll see you there.
14
Take care.
days.
Take care, everybody. Have fun observing.
Bye now.
Bye-bye.